The Office is one of the funniest and most rewatchable TV shows of all time, and one of the things that makes the show so great are the cold opens. So today I'm going to share my picks for the 10 best cold opens on The Office. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your picks for the 10 best cold opens on The Office. There's like 40 fantastic cold opens for The Office, so if I didn't include one of your favorites in my top 10, it doesn't mean that I don't love it, it just means it didn't crack my top 10. Like, I watched 45 of these things last night. There was only like one that I didn't like and only two that didn't make me laugh. The rest, I really enjoyed. I can only pick 10 for this video. But with that in mind, over on my Patreon page, there is a companion video to this one with 10 more of my favorite cold opens from The Office. Join at any level and you can unlock it, and let's get started. Kicking things off at number 10 is Dwight Gives Birth from season 5, episode 4. Now, what makes this one so much fun is that it kind of has three different fronts that are all really funny. First off, the obvious one, a crazy, insane Dwight antic of him giving birth to a watermelon. Inherently pretty funny. Second, you have Jim commenting on the whole thing with one of his whiteboard explanations of Michael and Dwight's behavior. Once again, more subtle, but equally funny. And the nice little icing on top of the cake here is Michael in his typical clueless fashion joining in the two punchlines on this whole bit where Michael actually drops the watermelon at the end of it.
Oh, God! Wow! What was on that?
Butter. Newborns are slippery.
Nice touch. Good.
And then it cuts to Michael eating the watermelon. The perfect way to take an insane thing and have a nice punchline to it. Number 9, the Pavlovs Dog prank from season 3, episode 15. In this one, Jim remembers Pavlov's dogs from school and how they were trained to salivate when they hear a bell, and so he decides to play this little prank on Dwight where he does the same thing with him, involving ringing the tone on his computer and then giving him an Altoid, all leading to the end of it where he makes Dwight stick out his hand just by making a tone, and then Dwight starts having a bad taste in his mouth.
My mouth tastes so bad all of a sudden.
Just a real clever little way to have something that's a little bit more intelligent than some of the more broad humor that the show sometimes has done. I love it when they just have something that's really clever inside of the prank itself. Next up, the lip dub from season 7, episode 1. Now, this was a season opener where they wanted to do something big that tied to pop culture and do this big exaggerated version of it where each of the characters from the show would behave in the fashion that they did, and in doing so created one of the more memorable openings to one of the episodes of the show. It seems like a thing that Michael would pressure them to do. He gets all in on it, and just when he starts doing his magic tricks, it's just the faces that Michael Scott is making are hilarious. You have the people that, of course, wouldn't want to get involved. Creed is looking confused. And just in general, that they pulled off this big, elaborate, 2-minute long, single take, big dance routine. Quite impressive and a lot of fun. Number 7, Michael learns Toby has returned from season 5, episode number 9. Of course, Michael hates Toby. He thought that he'd got rid of him for good, so the episode kicks off with everyone knowing that Toby has returned except Michael, and he thinks all of them are teasing him, only for him to learn that Toby has truly returned, which leads to one of the most iconic Michael Scott moments.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That has been memed to death. Well, most of this show has been memed to death, but one that everybody absolutely loves as he screams no as learning his arch nemesis has returned. Then we have Asian Jim from season 9, episode 3. Now, this is just a fun concept in general of how Jim and Pam would decide to prank Dwight by bringing in an Asian friend to play him, but then the writing on it is really sharp, and the little moments where they're like giving him credit for not noticing skin color.
You're not Jim. Jim's not Asian.
You seriously never noticed? Hey, hats off to you for not seeing race.
The big punchline joke at the end of it that they have a picture of the family. But what I love about it is that it's Randall Park, a really funny guy, and it's him as Jim in the episode. Such a nice little touch, perfect casting, little cameo, and a great little bit. Bringing us into our top 5 is Kevin and the Chili from season 5, episode 26. This is such a classic Kevin little moment as you have the voiceover of all the work he put into making the chili, how excited he was, how he's so proud of making his chili as we watch him walk in, spill it, and just the disappointment that comes across his face as he realizes that he spilled it, desperately tries to clean it up, and then starts falling all over himself on the chili. Classic Kevin moment. Coming in at number 4 is Parkour from season 6, episode 1. Another incredibly rewatchable, memorable opening sequence. This is the one that gets rewatched in the Chandler household the most, primarily because my kids absolutely love the sequence. But another example of them taking something popular in cis culture and just being a little bit too late and making that the joke that Michael Scott would do something ridiculous a little bit too late, and then just finding the funniest little moments to go with it. I just love that final moment and the way they play out the joke where Andy jumps into the box and it just stops. Parkour. He disappears, and then they go, parkour? Perfect. Real quick before I give you my top 3, remember to share your picks down below in the comments section. We're going to have different lists because there's so many fantastic cold openings to this show, and we all love different things about it. So just because I didn't include one of your favorites doesn't mean I don't like it. There's just a lot of them to pick from. Also remember, there is a companion video to this over on my Patreon page. Join at any level, and you can unlock that for 10 more of my favorite cold openings from The Office. In third place is Jim dresses as Dwight from season 3, episode 20. Now, there's a ton of fantastic cold openings where Jim pranks Dwight, and I think this one just captures their relationship so well, where you have Jim trying to drive him crazy while having a ton of fun in the process, and the little details are what make all the difference, where he's describing where he purchases all of the regalia and then pulls out his watch calculator to calculate the exact amount of it. The little Michael at the end of it, where Dwight then goes, Michael! And what I love is that then it's bookended by Dwight dressing as Jim at the end of the episode, and it's perfectly Dwight misreading who Jim is and how to do an impression that's equally hilarious while being a terrible impression of Jim at the same time, but representing how Dwight thinks entirely. Our runner-up, Michael closes his foot in a Foreman grill from season 2, episode 12. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite episodes of the show and just captures the group dynamic of The Office. You have Michael doing something absolutely ridiculous that has this fun story about that you would believe that Michael would have this whole routine of how he would try and have this fancy way that he wakes up with the smell of bacon that's incredibly stupid at the same time, ties into culture just a little bit with that Foreman grill, something that everybody owned back in the year 2005. And then you have The Office listening to tell this story as each of them responds. He wants Rainn to come and get him. He wants Pam to come and get him. And of course, it's Dwight who volunteers. And then the nice little punchline at the end, Dwight crashes his car and vomits on top of it. Just such a perfect little capture image of what I love about this show and the characters and how they relate to one another. All of it in one little opening. But coming in at first place is the fire drill from season 5, episode 14. In general, I normally like it when this show is a little bit more subtle in its humor. I'm not as big of a fan of the big, broad comedy moments where they just get too over the top and ridiculous. But when it comes to broad comedy and the ridiculous stuff on this show, this is the best moment that they ever had.
Save Bandit!
Where this episode actually debuted right after the Super Bowl, so they knew the most eyes would be watching this sequence right here, and they just wrote the funniest little Dwight bit that they possibly could that is laugh out loud funny for about 4 minutes straight as you watch Dwight do his thing and then everyone else freak out and go crazy.
What is that?
The fire's shooting at us! And it just has so many big gigantic laughs that build on top of each other. The insanity builds and builds and builds. All of it in line with the characters and peak big laugh out loud moments for The Office. So the fire drill comes in at number 1. Remember to share your picks down below in the comment section. If you want 10 more of my favorites, you can check that out over on my Patreon page. The link is down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much.